Commanding Officer Communication Center, Lieutenant Colonel.
Benefits of self-control. Self-control empower one to regulate their emotion and action to behave normal in the family, society, and in the working environment, even when the person is under pressure. Therefore, the aim of this presentation is to educate all the members of my whole family about the importance or the benefits of self-control. Therefore, I shall cover the following: the definition of self-control, how to build self-control, religious concept of self-control, and conclusion. Beginning with the definition of self-control. Self-control is the ability to regulate your thoughts, emotions, and behavior to resist temptations and achieve long-term goals. I say again, self-control is the ability to regulate your thoughts, emotions, behavior to resist temptation and to achieve long-term goals. Self-control.
guide your action, to guide your thoughts, and to guide your mindset. Self-control can be controlled through counseling, listening to sermon messages. You cannot say that you know it all. It is important. Either you are a Muslim brother or a Christian, it is important to sit down under the clergy, to listen to sermon, so that you can be encouraged. Now we go to why self-control matters. For personal success, number one, for personal success, self-control matters, most especially in the military environment like this. The time I joined the military, I discovered that during my first year, I discovered that there are several people, you senior them by age, but you have to bow under their command. I even observe myself and I look at it, even what I know. Though then some of my superior doesn't know it. So, but and I look at this one, I will just sit down, be the reverend even before I join the service and pastoring as a man of God before I join the service. And it's only sometimes in the ministry we look at now, we don't look at the callings. Some people, not everybody. And I look at it. This person, by age, I'm older. But the service are designed it in such a way that it's not by age. No matter how old you are, if you don't have the ability to control yourself, you just look at it, is that not a man is a young boy. There was a time we having Padre here, and somebody among the participants said, that person will just call me by name because if you don't have the ability to control yourself, it will be very difficult for you to be successful. Because he's a young boy, but you say something that you're not supposed to say. I say, okay, no problem. I will throw the book at you and I will see how you survive it. One of my superiors then used to say that it is a momo personnel. And they go faster. So if you don't have the ability, just like the definition I gave, even when you are under pressure, the ability to control yourself. Even though you are being tense, even though when you are angry, the ability to control yourself under anger. If you are not able to control yourself, it will be very difficult for you to be successful in life, and most especially in this military that will be done. Why self-control matters? If you don't have the ability to control yourself, please don't marry. I say it again. If you do not have the ability to control yourself, stay single and don't marry. If you are a man, you don't have the ability to control yourself, please stay single, because you will kill somebody's daughter one day. If you are a woman and you don't have the ability to control yourself, don't marry, because either you kill somebody's son or somebody's daughter will die. Because if you are to stay with a woman, you must control yourself. There are some things they will say, you see their behavior, You must control yourself. And there are some things we men, we do. Very naughty. But despite that, you control yourself. If not, you poison somebody's child. So, in a relationship, you must be able to control yourself. And why will you be able to control yourself?
Why you should control yourself is that sometimes you marry from someone, different culture, different background, different language sometimes. The way they used to do things in my home side is different from your home. In my own
Side. When my wife wants to give me something, she must lay down and serve me with honor and respect. You know that people, you know where I come from now. You must be able to double it. So, but other people may not count it. You just say, and somebody will just look at it. Look at you. You don't have respect. And you don't have honor. So, for you to be able to sustain marriage, why self-control matters? You must be able to control yourself. For you to be able to sustain marriage. Why self-control matters? You must, because of character. Character. It matters.
We must be ability to control yourself. Why you should control yourself?
Because as a president, we are bearing arms. We are bearing arms. If you don't have self-control, there are so many times that you just on fire and at the end of it you regret it. It's very important for us to be able to control our anger when we are angry, so that we still be in our right senses in order to act very well. And because of our time, I will quickly go to the religious concept of self-control. In Proverbs chapter 5 verse 28, like a city whose walls are broken, true is a person who lacks self-control. This biblical concept let it know to us that someone who lacks self-control is like a city whose wall is broken. That is, anything can come in. Like a city whose wall is broken. That is, most of the time, what causes marital issues and problems. Because if you lack self-control, you will sleep with anything. You will sleep with anything. You will just be sleeping around. It will be causing you a problem, it will be causing your marriage problem, different kind of sickness will come in. If you lack self-control, it's like a city whose wall is broken, that has no defense. You will not be able to control yourself, even sexually. I I don't particularly come for presentation today, but I have come to preach. I've come to preach. So when you lack self-control, you'll be porous to so many things, to so many dangers. To so many dangers. So, like a city whose wall are broken is a person who lacks self-control. And likewise, the book of Galatians chapter 5 verse 22 to 23 says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, and self-control." I say again, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, and self-control. And let us go to Quran chapter 7 verse 31. "Eat and drink, but do not be excessive. Indeed, he does not like those who commit excess." That Allah does not like those either young or old that does things excessively. You know, our message today is trying to link to last Padre hour. Say, but eat or drink, Allah does not like those who commit excesses. That is, when you lack self-control, even what you take, what you drink, as you are taking one bottle, the self-control, if it's not there, maybe one bottle is your limit. If you lack self-control, you will see the take another one, take more two, take more three, take more four. I even heard in a place not quite long that they did competition and they put some crates of alcohol on the ground and said, "Who will first finish it?" And that young man drank first bottle, two bottle, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when he got to number 10, the man shut down. And from there, they took him to the ground. I think you see what, if you are not able to control yourself, even as well in terms of money as well, if you are unable to control yourself, if you are not able to control yourself, you will carry people's money and then use your own. And then the cost will not be on you. So, Islam emphasizes moderation and avoiding excess in food, spending, and behavior.
Self-restraint is tied directly to living in a way that pleases God and preserves your well-being. When you responsibility for your well-being to be at risk.
There's possibility for your health to be at risk. There's possibility for your career to be at risk. There's possibility for your marriage never to start, never start. There's possibility for things to go wrong around you. That is the reason why it is essential, very and highly important for us to have the ability to control ourselves, to control our appetites, to control our urge, to control our anger. When we are angry and said it's enough, it seems as if it's the time that they are forward for you. It's then you start. So there are so many things that will make you to be angry. But the ability to calm yourself down, not somebody calming you down, but the ability to calm yourself down and know the limit. And know the limit. Self-control won't make life easy, but it will make you strong. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you build a life you won't regret. If you don't want to build a life of regret, if you want to build a life that you will not regret, you should inculcate the habit of self-control. So, if you help you to live a life that you will not regret, and it will help you to live a life that will not end you in danger or in trouble or in prison, that will not be our portion. With this, I'll come to the end of my sermon. Thank you for your rapt attention, and God bless you.
Shall we please give the clergy another round of applause? The Deputy Director of Logistics, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the second segment of today's Padre Hour, which is the interactive session. This session will entertain questions or contributions from the audience. With the kind permission of the Director of Logistics, may I request questions or contributions beginning with the column by my left. Questions or contributions? If you have any. Questions or contributions? Any questions or contributions from this call?
My name is Wasim. What God will divide by the Thank you very much, sir. You mentioned how to control or manage self-control. That's what I want to add to it. You mentioned self-discipline, prayer, motivation. The way which I get mine is one kindness. A lot of times I always shy, where I control myself. So that come and thank you, sir. Come here, when I come to one and I get like that, and please let my shine. Also, patience. That's also good. Also, our son. Some say me, and so we are very and lastly, forget about it. In one of the internship, when we allow that one, this guy and so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other person for this? Now to the column in front of me, questions or contributions. You have any? Questions or contribution from the column on my right. If you have any question, please go ahead. To the column on my far right, questions or contributions, if you have any. We shall now move to the Mosas area. beginning with major, equivalent, and below. Questions or contributions, sir? May I request questions or contributions from Lieutenant Colonel and equivalent? May I also request if there's any question or contribution from Colonel and equivalent? In the absence of no questions or contribution at this point, may I humbly request the Deputy Director of Logistics to please come to the podium to sum up the session and make his remarks. The Deputy Director of Logistics.
CEOs, HODs, RSMs, wonderful personnel of NAFRIC. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We're here again, and I know the topics this period has been very, very interesting and quite captivating, and I must applaud our chaplains for selecting such topics. Now, self-control. I don't know if you must have noticed, anytime I stand here on the podium, I always use myself as reference, so that nobody will ask, "Sir, you're talking about me," or "What you're talking about her." I always use myself. Because these few years in the service, and even on this living in this earth, I've had so much experience, and once in a while I share them for those that may get something wrong. Now, self-control. Sometime back at 2015, I was opportune to serve under the Blue Helmet as a UN observer. Of course, before you go there, try to keep fit and other things. On getting there, I must relax or have to start working on. But when I looked at myself in the mirror one day, I said, "Oh boy, can I do this? From 6 packs, I have one massive 1 pack. I have to say, I have to just check myself, if not for anything, health-wise." And that's where the self-control dovetails into self-discipline. I said, whatever I used to eat, I must cut it by half. I don't know what kind of inspiration came to me that period, and I was very dedicated. 3 square meals, not all the ones that some people say, "No, I will skip meals." No, you just give yourself also eat. But the only thing you do is watch the quantity you eat, then exercise. Trust me, I was exercising like mad every morning before I went to my office. 3 months. Just took me 3 months. And for the first time in my life, I was weighing the same weight I was weighing before I got married. which was 65. I was very light. There was one Bangladeshi senior officer, doctor. He had class. I said, what's wrong with you? Hope everything is okay. Maybe you're thinking I was sick. I said, sir, I've never felt great like this in my life. I'm very, very okay. I'm perfect. I'm just watching my weight. I said, okay. I thought there was something else. Because the way you looked at me, boy, what is wrong with you? Unlike you, as by their body and everything, all of a sudden, boom. So that's where the self-control, self-discipline. Now, another thing I just want to bring to eating at night. Because of you trying to stay healthy, I'm also guilty of this sometimes. Because of trying to watch your weight, somehow, now when you're trying to do something good, that's when the devil wants to walk over time. That urge to eat will come later in the night. If you try to overcome, maybe drink water or just force yourself to sleep, you will get the reward at the end. But if you say, I know, I must just satisfy this hunger, I know, but my stomach is biting by this, by that, you also get the reward at the end. By what? Having cholesterol, fat stored in your stomach, which gives you the massive one pack I talked about, which is the most, forgive me for using this word, I don't have Thomas Siddhartha, which is the most useless fat to ever have. Stomach fat is very difficult to burn, except you are very dedicated. Fat in any other place, yes, you can easily burn, but stomach fat, very difficult, except you are very dedicated and you burn it. Or you use the easy way out. For those of us that can't afford it, do and operate and suck the fat out. So all this that I'm just saying is just a way of us trying to have self-control. And one other thing I also want to bring to our notice, self-control. Self-control is not only religious aspect, it is an everyday affair. Now let me bring it back home. Let me not talk about myself now. Let me bring it back home. Self-control, some of us, when we're on duty, let me just duty, go and sleep. Or that's the time we're now chatting, forgetting the essence of why we are at duty post. Or that's the time we now entertain friends that would have equally seen before going for duty or after. You not being able to control yourself that period or discipline yourself, that's where the self-discipline comes in. So at that period, you are dedicated and make sure you don't get yourself into any form of trouble or any form of issues at all. Self-discipline. Please, let's be guided. Self-discipline, self-control is very essential in our everyday workspace and everyday activities. Yes, self-control. Once in a while, some people have anger issues. Anger issues in the sense that little things they feel, they either go physical or thereabout, which can result into domestic violence and so on and so forth. But with self-control, self-discipline, you must realize that there are two parties, man and woman, that have different home upbringing, but coming together as one. So of course there might be one or two frictions, but your ability to manage it matters, except if it goes beyond any other thing that we can actually manage. But trust me, with self-control, you imagine it, you beating your wife, you're like beating yourself. It's unheard of. And such people, they don't even allow such things to happen because they know it's like a shame. Why can't you now fight your fellow man? A woman, you get power on top. So please, let's just try as much as possible. Have self-control in our everyday activities, both in the religious aspects, official aspects, and otherwise. And I know and I believe deep down, if we can imbibe self-control in our lives, we will be better persons, which at the end of the day, you, not me, each and every one of us will be beneficiary to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful contribution. With that, we have come to the end of today's combined prayer. Shall we please rise as the senior